There's a point in every life when the world feels like it's testing you. Maybe you've lost someone you thought you couldn't live without. Maybe a plan you worked years for just fell apart. Maybe you wake up and realize that the fire that used to drive you has turned to ash. In that silence between who you were and who you're becoming, you face the same question Seneca did 2,000 years ago. How do I stand unbroken in a world that never stops trying to break me? Seneca didn't write his wisdom from comfort. He wrote it in exile under threat of execution, betrayed by emperors he once served. And yet his letters breathe calm. He called it resilience, but not the motivational kind you see on posters. This was the kind that could face death and still say, I have lived. Today we'll break down 7 habits, 7 disciplines of thought and action that made Seneca and the Stoics like him ruthlessly unshakable. Not superhuman, not emotionless, just immune to despair. Let's begin. Habit 1. Expect everything. Seneca wrote, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." He wasn't pessimistic, he was prepared. He believed suffering doubles when you think it wasn't supposed to happen. So he practiced a ritual every morning, premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. He'd imagine losing his fortune, being insulted, falling ill, even dying, and then remind himself that none of these things were truly bad. Only his reaction could make them so. Modern translation: life is easier when you expect life to be hard. When you rehearse the worst, you stop fearing it. It's not negativity, it's armor. Mantra: I expect everything, so nothing owns me. Habit 2. Slow down your reactions. Seneca warned, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. Think about the last time someone disrespected you. Your pulse spiked. Your mind raced with things you could have said. That instant urge to react, that's your downfall. The Stoic response isn't suppression, it's observation. Breathe, count, detach. Seneca practiced responding late, not fast. He'd write letters instead of arguing in person. He trained himself to pause long enough for reason to catch up with emotion. You can practice this daily. When someone cuts you off in traffic, delay the reaction by 1 breath. When an email angers you, draft a response, then reread it tomorrow. Restraint is power disguised as calm. Mantra: delay is my weapon. Habit 3. Live each day as a lifetime. From On the Shortness of Life, Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He noticed people guarding their money more carefully than their time. And yet time is the one thing that can never be earned back. To Seneca, every day was a complete life. Morning was birth, evening was death. If you could live 1 full day with clarity, courage, and gratitude, you'd already lived well. Most people exist on autopilot, drifting through routines, waiting for a future that never arrives. But resilience grows from presence. When you're grounded in the moment, nothing can be taken from you, because you're already living. Mantra: I live fully now, tomorrow is a rumor. Habit 4. Practice voluntary discomfort. Seneca believed comfort made us fragile. In his letters he wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest fare and rough clothing, saying to yourself, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" He called it a rehearsal for misfortune. He would sleep on the floor, eat simple food, walk barefoot, not because he loved suffering, but to prove to himself he could survive it. Today we avoid discomfort like poison. But every Stoic knew the opposite. Comfort is poison. Resilience requires exposure. Take cold showers, skip luxury once in a while. Walk instead of drive. Every voluntary hardship makes involuntary hardship easier. Mantra: I train in discomfort so I can thrive in storms. Habit 5. Detach from outcomes. Seneca said, "Let us say what we feel and feel what we say. Let speech harmonize with life." He meant integrity, acting from principle, not from the promise of reward. When you detach from outcomes, you free yourself from fear. You stop living for applause and start living from alignment. Do your best, then release the rest. He told his student Lucilius, "Fortune's control ends where the mind begins." In modern terms, external success is unpredictable, but inner peace is not. When you do something noble or difficult, don't measure it by how people react. Measure it by whether it reflects your values. Outcome fades, character remains. Mantra: I act with integrity, the result is not my concern. Habit 6. Study death daily. Seneca meditated on death more than anyone. He wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing." To him, death wasn't morbid. It was liberating. When you keep death close, you stop wasting time. You stop waiting to live someday. Every morning becomes sacred. Every conversation becomes final and therefore real. In Letters from a Stoic, he told Lucilius, "He who learns to die unlearns slavery." When you accept that everything ends, you stop clinging. That's the essence of resilience, holding everything lightly. Mantra: I rehearse death to live fully. Habit 7. Turn pain into service. Seneca's final lesson was compassion through endurance. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." But he also knew that when suffering does arrive, it can be transformed. Every wound, he said, can become wisdom for someone else. That's why his letters survive. They were therapy written in exile. He turned his isolation into instruction, his pain into philosophy. Your resilience becomes powerful when it's shared. When you've walked through fire, you can guide others through theirs. Pain that's processed becomes purpose. Mantra: my scars are my credentials. The fire within. Seneca didn't live forever. He was forced to take his own life by order of Nero, the emperor he once mentored. But even in his final hour, he met death with composure. He opened his veins calmly, comforted his friends, and said, "Nothing that is born dies, but only changes its place and turns into something else." That's not despair, that's mastery. Resilience in its truest form isn't about endurance, it's about transcendence. It's about knowing that no external blow can reach the inner fortress you've built through discipline, reflection, and courage. So as you leave this video, remember, the world will test you. It will throw delay, disappointment, betrayal, and loss your way. You can't stop that, but you can train for it. You can live as Seneca did, deliberately, calmly, ruthlessly resilient. Final mantra: fire doesn't destroy the Stoic, it forges him.